Tonight, waiting and watching, Narromine and Warren on notice as the Macquarie flood peak heads downstream. Some Dubbo businesses struggling to keep open, others stay closed. Stockpiles of sandbags ready for the next big rain. Orange says enough thanks as that multi-million-dollar pipeline is called into question.
This is Prime News with Hugh Whitfell.
Good evening, everyone. The flood threat has eased today across the west, but there's more rain coming and the outlook isn't great. We'll have the region's best coverage for you tonight. Also, the chief of the controversial Murray-Darling Basin Authority quits. And in sport, we take a ride alongside one of the Central West's biggest chances in the New South Wales Cycling Grand Prix. There's just one road open in and out of Warren tonight. The flood peak on the Macquarie is forecast to reach the town this weekend now. The river hit 14 metres in Narromine today, but in both locations, most people are protected behind levee banks. Attention has turned to Trangie, where excess water is headed across the plains from the swollen river. Work crews are trying to clear drains in Narromine. The town is protected from the rising Macquarie River by a levee. The water is a spectacle now, but
if Narromine does cop a big shower of rain, the drains into the river are closed at this moment, and they will have to pump it over the bank to get it out of the main street and the streets of Narromine.
Most of the town is protected for now. Despite forecasts, the river could hit 14 metres, but this footy ground is gone. All this water has to go somewhere. It's spreading out across the plains for kilometres, carrying everything with it. The convergence of a number of creeks and the Macquarie is adding to the flows.
Water could actually get to Trangie, yes. If the river still keeps rising, there is a fair bit of water coming. It's coming slowly.
In Warren, the town is all but isolated. Most major roads are cut.
There are enough provisions within the town of Warren to sustain everyone in the immediate future.
The biggest concern is making sure people on properties isolated by floodwaters are okay. Locals are taking it all in their stride. Michael Saunders should be out doing building jobs across the west, but he's stuck.
You just try to do inside jobs. You tend to keep away from them. I like to get out in the bush and work, but you can't get out.
In 1990, the Macquarie hit 10 metres in Warren.
Warren has had a totally new levee built since August 1990.
It can hold back an 11-metre flood, much higher than the river is now. It's just a case of waiting and watching to see how much more water will arrive.
Hopefully the river will even itself out for a little while and we can get a bit of the water away before our next downpour.
In a moment, Daniel will tell us how likely that is. Schools reopened today in Coonamble. The town is no longer isolated by floodwaters. The Castlereagh was at 4.8 metres this afternoon and falling. That means it's below the moderate flood level. The Bureau is predicting moderate to major flooding downstream across paddocks over the coming days, and upstream there is still plenty of water lying about. In Dubbo, some businesses in the CBD are trading again, but the prospect of others reopening is still bleak. Water from the swollen Macquarie is taking its toll. Now the council is asking retailers what it can do to help.
With river levels still up around the 9 metre mark, much of Dubbo is still submerged. It means most businesses are still shut. There's just too much water. But even though it's a city doing it tough, Dubbo residents are still finding something to smile about.
There's been a lot of inundation of business premises in the CBD, and that has flow-on effects.
Like electricity and sewerage not working, pretty important utilities if you run a business. Dubbo City Council has started talking with shop owners put out by the floodwaters to see what needs to be done to get stores trading again. Like the local Hog's Breath restaurant, it reopened last night.
We're trying to operate as normally as possible. Had to do a couple alterations just to get back up and running.
Not just for the business, but for the 35-odd employees relying on their next paycheck.
To support all our staff that have been supporting us and make sure they can pay their bills.
But problems are only expected to get worse, with a wet couple of days forecast to end the week.
Going down a little bit, it's about 9.5 metres. It'll hang around that level for at least another 2 or 3 days at a minimum.
Some shops in both major shopping centres are closed, including some others on Macquarie Street. The council says it will do what it can to help, but says unfortunately a lot of it will come down to what insurance you've got.
Cost on individuals and businesses, that's an insurance issue, or it's they soak it up themselves.
If you need any more advice, call Dubbo City Council on 6801 4000. Nathan Stitt, Prime News.
Well, there's been no rest for our SES crews. They've been busy preparing tens of thousands of sandbags for the next big rain event due later this week. Extensive flash flooding is expected right across the west. Antonia Morrow reports.
It's a race against time. As quickly as these brown bags appear, they're filled with sand and piled high on pallets, then delivered to SES rescue units around the region.
But the rain is set to start again on Wednesday night. We're going to see quite a bit of rain, potentially up to 100 millimetres around the area. And what we're doing now is preparing.
In the last 4 days, nearly 20,000 sandbags have been prepared in Bathurst alone. Choppers are on standby, boats have been checked over. No detail is too small.
Everything's in tip-top shape, so if we have to respond in the next few days, we're able to do it.
Last week, the Central West and Far West received around 160 millimetres of rainfall, drenching local waterways, causing flash flooding in most towns and cities. The SES says more falls forecast tomorrow could spell disaster.
Basically, all over the Central West is going to be affected because everything's so wet at the moment, the catchments are so wet. So any local river or creek or stream, we're going to see significant rises.
The main focus areas for Craig and his team:
the Bathurst area, Georges Plains and Perthville, we're looking at Molong, we're looking at Canoundra with the Bullabilla River, Yekgao with the Menagerie, and also keeping an eye at Simmer Park Dam in Orange.
The weather system is blowing in from the northwest. It should reach our region late tomorrow night. Antonia Morrow, Prime News.
So, Daniel Gibson, what is the latest on that forecast?
Yeah, it's an ever-changing thing, Hugh. Hi, everyone. The latest now, we were expecting it sometime tomorrow. The latest modelling is now showing that we'll see the heavier rain for Thursday and Friday as opposed to Wednesday, Thursday now. And at this stage, we're likely to see still that 20 to 40 millimetres of rain, probably by around 8, 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, and then ridging in towards Friday as well. You can see there. So it's the Riverina and down south that'll see the lion's share of it tomorrow. Then we'll start to see ours. I'll have more for you real soon.
Okay, thanks Dan. We will see you soon. Well, with the expectation that that rain will arrive, releases from Burrendong Dam were reduced from 120,000 megalitres to 100,000 megalitres a day this afternoon. That will be cut to 80,000 tomorrow morning to take the pressure off the swollen Macquarie. Nearly 6,500 calls have been made to a public information centre from our region alone. If you want more information about the floods, the number to call is 1800 227 228. And don't forget, if you run into trouble, even if you're on an isolated rural property, call the SES on 132 500. The big job of fixing damage from these floods is already underway. A dozen council areas in our region are natural disaster zones, but that list doesn't include Bathurst, where ratepayers will be left with the clean-up bill.
Wednesday last week, flash flooding at Kelso causes traffic snarls on the Great Western Highway. Almost a week on, the water has nearly dried up, but the damage bill is to come in.
We are finding that there has been some substantial damage to our roads here in the Bathurst area.
To cope with the extra work, the council has assigned 3 full-time road works crews. They're busy filling in the thousands of potholes plaguing the district's roads.
We're finding that Vale Road is one particular area that has suffered quite a bit of damage.
But local ratepayers will have to pick up the clean-up bill themselves. 12 council areas in our region have been declared natural disaster zones. Bathurst isn't one of them.
There have been impacts upon the roads here, and that does come at a cost to the ratepayers of the city. We've been very lucky here compared to some of the damage that has been received in other local government areas.
One council that is on the list is the Warrumbungle Shire. Some roads in the area, like this one between Dunedoo and Mandurin, have been completely washed away. So far, the council estimates the damage bill at $600,000. That's just to fix up the main roads. Antonia Morrow, Prime News.
Orange has so far escaped largely unscathed from this weather event, but the rain has meant one thing: the city's once parched dams just keep on overflowing. Now some councillors are calling for a rethink on the $47 million pipeline to be built from the Macquarie River.
94 mils of rain in December already. It means a healthy looking Suma and bodes well for the local water supply. For Orange residents on town water, it's an early Christmas present.
It is exciting, but I feel sorry for all the other areas, you know, like in Wagga.
Good to see, actually. Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah, of course I do, yeah. Especially after the last 10 years, how it's been very low.
12 months ago, Suma was at 30%. Today, every dam in Orange is bursting at the seams.
This is what Suma Park looks like, spilling over at 141 mils. And the staff here say, with the exception of just one day, it's looked like this ever since it originally came over in August.
Fantastic. Look, to see all our water supplies at 100%, to see everything overflowing.
Neil Jones says the recent deluge and additional council infrastructure should shore up the city's water for years to come.
We now have Blackman Swamp stormwater harvesting scheme in operation, Ploughman's Creek in operation, we've got bore fields.
And it's why he thinks the council should rethink the proposed $47 million pipeline from the Macquarie River.
We can deliver the same amount of water, a secure yield of 7,000 megalitres per annum with all the local projects.
They're entitled to have their say. I think they're misinformed.
The Mayor is firm on the council's direction. He says council should have all the plans and paperwork ready for the pipeline early in the new year,
to make sure that this happens within a time frame of building it within 2 years.
Nathan Stitt in Orange, Prime News.
News away